inch and a half or whatever the case may be.
Or a tank.
Or a tank.
Yeah.
Or they may be doing tanks and pumps, and,
Yeah.
we try not to regulate that part, we just regulate how much water they get out of the system at any given moment.
Is it mandatory now that you put in your radon systems, radon gas?
I'm not aware of it being mandatory, I think it's a good idea. 'Cause you can't get an accurate test until you build a house,
I think that's in 2020.
and if you put it down during construction, it's really a minimal cost, and if you wait till the end, it's really,
Somewhere I saw 2020 on the day that it would become mandatory for all new construction.
What, all spark sprinklers and all the?
No,
No.
the radon gas.
Oh, radon.
Yeah. They already changed the requirement, you have to, any ground has to be covered with plastic in the basement now, and so there are some regulations, but there will be a full system in 2020 unless they change that.
And don't we have a little, I mean, we definitely have a radon issue in our town.
Some do, some
Yes.
don't. I did my house and it was at a 2.7, which I knew that because the kids won't leave the door closed. I told them that when we did the test. This will be low, the kids will never shut the door.
and I did too, I did one when we were on vacation, it was an 8, I did one when we were living in the house in the winter and said everybody keep the doors closed, and it came back 1.
Really?
So that was,
Opposite of what you think.
no, so it was higher when we kept the door, when we were on vacation and I let it sit with no doors open, I had a problem.
Yeah, but in the winter, that's when they say everything's frozen, it forces it up in your house.
Well, but then I did it again, both of those were in the winter. I did it again in the winter, but this time we were home, and doors were opening and closing, but, more or less shut, it dropped dramatically, so.
If you want to see, by the way, if you want to see what's in your area, the health department, you report back to them and they keep a map of the area and they'll show you.
After you do your test?
Yeah, you report back and then they have a test. You can go look at the map and it'll show you what's in your area.
Wow.
Which was, I mean, when Bummer passed away, that was the first thing I thought of, Lung cancer, a guy's never smoked.
Yeah, I kind of heard that one, or we looked at that issue.
Yeah. So Mike Duggan's house was high. There's been a few of them that have been high. So,
Okay, so as far as council tonight, what do we want to do with the bid design and the flow analysis as far as Ryan's presentation of that? Are we appointing to make a decision? Do we need to kind of see?
So the town's looking at 61,000, is that right? 71,000?
Yes, we rounded that to 70, because we'll have some inspection costs and other issues there, so. And then throw in a contingency, because it won't go down.
All right, I know the engineer. First thing he says is if it's a change order, what changed?
But sometimes they have an answer.
Oh! That's when my engineer says not good enough.
And there's no way to take some of that money and use it on the roads?
So we are at,
Can we
no.
talk? If the installation of the water line damages the road,
On
then
the
that
record.
money can be used to repair it.
Yeah. Okay.
But strictly speaking, no, we can't, I would never recommend that we choose what water line to replace by the road that needs new asphalt.
Right.
But certainly if the installation of the water line creates a problem, that money can be used to restore the road.
And I guess my question, with not being joking about, is there any other monies besides the impact fee for water lines? General fund, I would assume we can spend whatever, and that.
Well, we have a road impact fee too.
And we do have a road.
Yeah, that's, yeah. So,
That's broken
so as far as,
So when will we know about his fire suppression system or?
Well, so right now, he's planning on drilling a well. And
No, I
then
understand that.
And then he's
but-
gonna have to put in tanks and everything else.
Okay.
If he can connect to the culinary water system, the cost of his fire suppression system goes down. He didn't know by how much. He was willing to take the money, he was gonna put it into a well and say, I'll contribute that to extending this water line if I don't have to. If I don't have to drill a well, and it'll save, he'll have some savings on the back end, he won't have to be responsible for the water system.
And you have a gentleman down by him that's building a house. We're gonna build a house.
Yeah, for
And- And he paid the town $5,000, $4,000 many years ago for a hookup.
So he needs to have a hookup.
Well,
Yeah.
supposedly, he's gonna say, you bring me the water, I give you the $4,000, and we say, well, it costs $100,000 to get you the water. He's gonna say, I don't care, I paid for a hookup, and you accepted my money. Isn't that the way it is?
I'm assuming that's what's
On
coming,
that
but
one?
it hasn't come yet.
How far down that road was the application that came in the most recent one? Right next to the house, or is it down in the field, like across from Neff's, or?
Across the street.
Yeah.
It's across from Neff's, down that far, so we've got some open field before that next house goes in.
So there's a few ways to save a few bucks. We're running the line all the way to the south end of the property. We could shorten it up by, 100 feet and save a few dollars. Once you're there, you might as well finish the job. If we wanted to, if we're worried about pennies, we could shorten the line up a few feet. But it's not gonna, we're not gonna get it from 90 down to 30. It's gonna go from 90 to 85.
Sooner or later, we're gonna have a couple more houses in there. The mansions are not gonna pay, offset the cost for that. Is that true?
Well, no, because they're gonna come in and say, it's gonna cost me this much to run it down into my property.
I can do it well, we've already spent our $70,000, and now we're starting with zero
So,
again.
yeah, not necessarily would the next person be willing to kick in more money for us to extend it.
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to accept anybody running early. We did that with the Andersons too. There's 3 hookups over there that he got for $5,000. And I just don't think we should do that.
There's actually more out there than you think.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But I think
More than
that's-
5?
The mayor was one of them.
I think
Not
that's.
supposed to be, but I haven't.
I think that's bad policy myself.
And I don't, it hasn't been done since back then, I mean, that was probably a poor decision, obviously, looking back for those guys, but it hasn't been done since then.
Yeah, the Andersons.
We did it with
Well,
Anderson,
yeah, but before that, I mean, they did it that day, yeah, what, 3 or 4, yeah.
The day before the impact fee increased, they all came in. I will say, I think there's a difference between doing it for a lot that's adjacent to an existing water line and doing it for a lot that's 1,000 feet away from our water line, assuming that someday by the time they want it, we'll have a water line in place, because
That's how I got my hookup.
that's 2 different things.
There was no line in front of my house when I bought my hookup. Till the county ran the line, there was,
So I worry less about what we did with the Andersons, because we do have a water line that can service them today, versus like when Eric bought his with no water line in sight and no way to service them, so. That said, I don't object to the policy at all that says when you're ready to build, pay the fee at that time, but we don't want to do this early.
Well, as an employee of the water department, I will not accept anybody's money until the council comes on board, period.
And not to change the subject, it's about water, but when they came across the road, and you're talking about fiber, they're clear up, and they've got another 2 lengths of that big pipe coming up next to the fence going up toward your house.
yeah, that's Heber Powers.
And so that's gonna go,
That red line on that thing means power.
okay, so it's about that big?
Yep, that's a conduit, so if you see when you're digging, don't hit that one.
So is that going up our road?
They actually, I believe, are burying the power underneath the highway.
Well, okay, but the corners here, but the line goes clear up our side of our.
Right, and so they've taken that design of that intersection, and they're saying this line has to be underground for this whole intersection as they're designing. So there was I have a question about a couple of the boxes that they've set there that may be in the road, but yeah, that one there is Heber Power doing that. Fugels is doing that under the road, but you'll notice them doing the poles up on 3,000 too. But that red one is power.
Okay.
So, how long do we have before, they put in for a well or go with this?
We need to make a decision soon,
Like this?
before the next council meeting. So if we don't do it now, I would do it by poll, or, I don't think you need to do it tonight, you can do it by email or poll later, but we need to get a decision here in the next few weeks, for 2 reasons. One, that these bids are good for 30 days, on Friday, so we've got 30 days on it.
Yeah,
And everybody's busy, so we need to either say yes or no to these guys
I
fairly
think we're
soon.
gonna be looking at a much higher price.
Well, so I asked a lot of folks about, this huge bump we've had in construction, and is it temporary or is it not? And everybody says they can't see this possibly continuing, this doesn't seem sustainable, followed by, but I don't see it dropping back off. I don't know. We could rebid this next year and it could be $40,000. We could rebid it next year and it could be 160. I don't know.
So did we have any local bidders? Just
No, we had a lot of local interest. We didn't have anyone turn anything in.
nobody turned in
We answered a lot of questions for local bidders, but we didn't get any, anybody to turn it in.
So walk me through the design build. Will that ever become an issue with design build on the waterlines?
Not unless we do design build on them, and I haven't, so this one's design, now we bid it at, the design bid build. So we could use the design build, it's a different process. I don't know that I would use it for a water line. Might be good for a water tank or a pump station, is where you start to see better settings. And so the design build process, we get a contractor on board before we know what we're designing, and the engineer and the contractor work together to find an optimum design. The water line is pretty straightforward. We're gonna go on the shoulder from here to there. I don't know that we save a whole lot of money on those relatively simple projects. There is an opportunity that I take on every project, is if we move forward with this and we have a pre-construction meeting, and I'll sit down with them and say, what's in here that's really expensive? Is there, did you see a better way to do this? And the guy says, yeah, I have this piece of equipment, I can save $10,000 if we do it this way versus that way. We'll do a change order, take them up on their ability to save things.
In a design build phase, can we still use the town engineer and a contractor to do those?
Yeah, so is it okay for me to have done the design on this?
No, in a design build scenario.
And yes, you can still use your engineer.
I wonder if the reason I ask that is because I think the overcomplication of the bid process may take away some of our locals that don't understand the bid process.
Well, I tried to go out of my way to help them
Yeah.
through it,
Okay.
but I was apparently unsuccessful.
Okay, all right.
One of them told me he was just too busy, so the reason he chose not to bid at the end of the day was
Too busy.
he was just too busy.
Okay,
So that one, I
Good
don't
reason.
think, I don't, well, it's a great problem to have, I don't think additional assistance for me would have helped that one. The other one, I don't know.
yeah, I just see this design build going industry-wide right now. It's crazy. So I didn't know if that works into the same process we could do.
Yeah, and it is an option to us. Like I said, for water lines, I think it's hard just because there's just not a lot of efficiency.
Well, that's why I think it would be easy to design build, because it's easy.
Yeah.
But,
Well, if you look at the plans, there wasn't much of the plans either, so we
yeah,
didn't, a lot of times you spend a lot of money on design, and then you get the contractor on board and he says this is stupid, and you redesign it anyway.
yeah.
Never done that this week, but, it happens.
This week,
With the water line, there's just only some, you're going from point A to point B, there's just only so many ways to get the job done.
Okay.
Does council want to think and I can do a poll and let him know before he needs to know? Do we want to, what do you want to do?
Well, I think that we need to put the value in also as we do this, and it is in our long-term plan to have a water line go down. It is. And so I think that holds some value. To put that to dollar value, I don't know how we do that.
Well, you got currently two more potentials before the line stops. You have maybe one more potential at the end of the line after these two, the two current. So there's four that may hook up to that line. Sure, feel better about having more than one person hooking up to the line because the other one's already paid.
How does this compare to the foot price that they did the 3 subdivision homes?
So we didn't have, that one was done privately, it was not in our master plan, and so we weren't privy to any of the costs. I do have some information, because I asked him after he was done what it cost him, and the answer would be this was about double. These numbers would be about double what he said he paid.
80,000, what he said,
So,
and that was twice as well.
yeah, but I didn't, so per foot, this is about double, I believe. Most costs from last year to this year are about double from what I've seen.
Okay, Ryan, have you looked at, I have a couple questions before we get, have you looked at the right-of-way easement?
I need to look at it more, but yes, I
I'd
have.
like an answer on that before we vote on it.
Okay,
And see,
If that's been straightened out and,
well, if we may incur more costs trying to run through here and drive this thing back up.
so one thing that there was a fence that has been built and now extended since we started this, that makes this a little more complicated. We're not gonna be 5 feet off the asphalt there, we're gonna be 2 feet off the asphalt.
We'll be 2 feet off here.
We're gonna have to hug we're gonna have to get closer to the asphalt to not take that fence out, so it will be snug. And I have not gone back to see on that parcel way if the fence is just built in our right of way or if
I believe
the right of way
that's, I
sticks
believe
out.
that's the case.
The fence needs to be moved.
I believe so, because when I looked at it, I looked at the right of way before we started design, we had plenty of room. I went back out there and drove it last week and we don't have plenty of room anymore. But we had plenty of room on the plat, so I believe that the fence is just in the easement.
I believe that's true.
And so,
But that's what I'm talking about, incurring more costs.
so it was my opinion we could still squeeze it in without having to take that fence out. No.
I'm with you, I don't think that's possible now.
Now, the longer it gets, the harder that becomes.
The fence?
Yeah, the longer the fence gets, the harder it becomes to not to damage it.
Right.
And then the question is, if they did just build a new fence in the right of way, do we want, is now a really good time to deal with it?
Well, I was kind of hoping that that property would subdivide and it would be a prime opportunity to do it.
so we could be fairly close to that prime opportunity.
It could be.
Me.
Yeah,
So,
that was my thought when the call came in, that we'll get this straightened out.
my thought was to get the contractor out there and walk it now that the fence is up and make sure that he's seen it and see what if he's comfortable with the bid price knowing the fence is there. Get that in writing and then move forward. Or if he says no and it's a $50,000 change order, then we'll know that before he starts. My guess from reading the council is that we probably wouldn't start if it was a whole lot more money.
Okay, I'd like to see the engineering GDA look at that.
I agree.
Make sure that
It may need to be cleaned up and maybe it'll mess right now.
it might be, and that could cost us a little bit. And I know we have at least,
Dig Hollow and that road both are same issues.
yeah, and we will be crossing right away the Daniel irrigation line, and then Central's doesn't go that way, so.
Yeah, I think it's just that dandelion and we should be quite a bit deeper.
Central's is out in the road, so. Yeah, we'll be deeper than the Daniel one, for sure.
So let's just continue this till next month. and-
Well, I think you can do a straw poll thing.
Okay, or straw poll, yeah.
And if we gotta act on this in 30 days, I think we need to do that. One way or the other, but
I'll be glad to make those calls.
you'll have to check your email.
Okay.
All right.
I was gonna say, you need to get me, you need to get me now.
If you don't hear,
I'll call you.
just call me.
Send him an email and send him a text.
So we could have a motion, and we need a motion and that made, and I'll just make the call, or the council is still fine, and if, basically, we kind of pre-approve it tonight and make the call, or we wanna wait for his report back before we, and all that, I guess all the council wants to hear that before we really make that decision, so.
Oh, it should be, I mean, I can get this, easily this week, I can get that map that says here's where the easement is, according to the, the county's website, here's where we're getting everything. If it's not clear and we have to research it, that could take, we spent years on Big Hollow and never got to an answer, because it's convoluted,
I
so.
think this one will be more clear, because I think we actually have that survey.
I think we can either, I think it is, and it'll either be clearly okay or clearly not, but I can get you that answer quickly, that's not gonna take a long time to do.
If you can get all this to that email, then I'll make the follow-up calls, and then make sure I get answers and get back to you, Brian. If that's what the council would like, because I think that's probably the right way to go if we have to do it before our next meeting.
I can do that.
Council feel comfortable?
Yes.
Know that there is a gas line behind that fence, probably 10 feet. Back behind there that's running through public utility easement. So I heard.
Somebody did mention there was a gas line right where I put through the water line. I said, well, that's not uncommon.
Yeah, there's also a phone line there. I found that.
It wouldn't be the first time we've ballistic things and then made field adjustments on the design to make it work.
Okay, sounds good.
They're a little faster.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and then the seed, is any more with regards to Wasatch County, as they're still on the subject, Wasatch County Service Complex water rate? Have anything moved up or down, or we need to decide that was carried over?
Ryan and I just had a quick little discussion tonight. Why not treat them like you do any other user? They did pay for the meter, put that in. But they're only gonna have one meter that's gonna have quite a bit of usage on it, I think. That's kind of what I see. But why not just give them the same rate you do everybody else? If we anticipate that they're gonna do 400,000 gallons a month, isn't that kind of where we looked at it?
Well, the meter's broken, but that's our guess right now.
That's just-
300 to
Was
500,000.
A new meter, right?
But we don't have data on it yet, so we're estimating that they've been using 300 to 500,000.
So if they get charged for 380,000 gallons and they pay $5 a gallon, or $5 per thousand, what is that?
About 1,500 a month or 18,000 a year.
Has anyone got, I mean, they're gonna get, with the new meters, they're gonna get a new bill, and what I've understood is they're not, we don't play back and forth between the higher water rates and having the higher snow removal rates at the same time. I know that they have no problem paying their water bill, so I guess it's just the amount of the water bill.
So what are we discussing here, a separate, the new meter or the old meter?
So this is
I think the discussion is, with the old meter, they were on
any meter.
a base $90 a month, was it? A fixed fee, and without any meter readings, we just went with a base
Double the
fee.
water, right?
Now-
Well, we had meter readings on for 5 or 6 years. They never used more than 3,000 gallons.
Right, but they were paying $90 a month for double the residential,
Right.
right? Which we,
20,000 was.
well, then we adjusted the residential, so that was prior to the residential.
Correct.
So they have a higher than what we have now on a residential hookup. So,
And their new meter would be $90 a month.
the second one up, the new one,
Yeah.
same thing.
And then you have it on the normal rate, yeah. Because we estimate that to be around 18,000 a year.
So it'd be treated the same as the one down, the new one going in. Rates would line up. Perfect.
But the other side of that is you could say, okay, all you do is pay us $1 for all the gallons you use over. And then what happens is they use the 380,000 gallons and they owe you $1 a gallon.
$380.
$380. And so for a year, they're under $3,600. I mean, which way you want it? But why change the rates? The school has the same rate, the church has the same rate. The county had the same rate, but they never did get into those high usage numbers. So they only get into it on the newer meter where they're gonna be doing a lot of their washout and stuff.
Which is really the same volume they've been using, it just hasn't been counted for all the years.
Yeah, we think we've got it figured out now.
Yeah.
I'm still not positive, but I think we got it figured
I'll
out.
go think.
I guess I would start with a conversation with Brandon and say, so here's a couple ways to calculate. This would be the easiest, but here's the numbers we're looking at. Does that worry you? I mean, the county's got a heck of a big budget. I don't know that the numbers we're talking about are gonna worry them. And if it doesn't worry them, let's not spend a lot of brain power on something that's not a problem.
I talked to Brad at one time, very short, didn't get into depth about it, but it's just like, it is what it is. I mean, it was just that, he didn't spend a lot of time
And
weighing it.
I had a similar one, which is why I'd hate to waste a lot of brain power on how do we make this better and more complicated to help save a problem we don't have. I think I'd ask Brandon if he thinks it's a problem, and if it is, then let's come back
Exactly.
and solve the problem. If he says it is what it is and it's not a problem, then let's keep the same rate, make our life easy if we want.
Kids,
Well, if that's the case, then what I would do is look him up and say he's gonna pay the rate. And then if he has a problem with that rate, let's say that we've underestimated that and he's using 800,000 gallons. Then we retune things.
Yeah.
I'll call Brandon this week, if you can give me the rate, so I can act like I know what the rates are that they would use for that 400,000 or whatever.
Well, and that's what I wanna make sure we're consistent with the meter down here and the meter up there. I think they should both be the same.
And I think they would want, I mean, yeah.
I know they're not talking to each other, but I think from our standpoint, they're the same.
Treat them the same.
You're right, county's a county, here's your
Well,
commercial.
then you hook up Brandon, and if he says, wow, this is a lot of money, you say, you're paying the same as on the other one.
Yeah, and then, like you say, if it's an issue, then we come back and look at
Why,
it. But
why stir the pot?
just make it consistent, that's what it is, and then if there's a problem, we'll come back and look at it. And I think that makes it easy, and it's consistent for us. It's what you did there, we just copied it. What do you want us to do?
We're any better or worse?
Okay,
It's consistent, the same.
same thing.
Yeah.
So
And then-
that was my worry, we'd get inconsistent between them, and then of course, well, then, man.
They
Treating us
favorites.
bad.
You know that will happen.
So I think consistent works, and then if there's an issue, then I think we should look at it.
The county has paid for the wall, the meter, and the installation.
Good,
What do I estimate that at? Probably 11, 12 grand.
that's what they told us when they came here, they would pay for all that, so.
Well, the thing, but, I mean, that's consistent with other connections. If, I mean, like the Navs, if he's got the contractor there and everything's going, he'd pay to have that installed at his cost. If we've done it where we've hired the contractor, we've asked the, you know, the recipient to pay for that. So they did it at whatever their cost was. Alternatively, if they didn't have those resources, we would have gone in and done it, and that would have been part of their connection bill.
And we did that with the church, we said, here's the specifications,
Yeah.
meter.
And so, I don't want to discount the dollars they spent, they have spent a lot of money. And to their credit, they had something hooked up when they've gone back and fixed it to our benefit. So I don't want to discount that at all, but as far as, you know, we wouldn't have paid that $12,000 for the church or the school or a house.
So I've got written down, I'll call Brandon, if you can just give me the figures for the water, and then I'll just see how he feels about it.
No,
No?
let's not call him.
Okay, then
I
just
think
go
just
move
run
forward,
it,
okay?
run it,
Just run it.
same, consistent, we did exactly what we've
And
done.
then if there's a problem,
Then we can talk.
then we can talk.
Good.
Yeah, 'cause
Well,
they-
assume there's no problem. Assume there is a
Right, I
problem.
think that's all they were asking for, they wanted their own meter, they thought it would be the same. I'm sure they know what the other one is.
And they've had quite a few years of water use.
Yeah. I
And
still
they,
don't,
and they know that.
I still don't understand why they just don't, but that's,
You don't understand why they just don't.
can't get along. Why it has to be a separate issue, but.
Okay, and not to move things along, but to move things along, any other, Daniel, domestic? If not,
No,
Stormhaven?
the only thing that we need to talk about, we already have, had to do with someone hitting the 4-inch line up there, putting 54 houses out of service. And they were out of service for approximately 6 hours.
And that was from from the time of call, we got it, I mean, yep.
And we know where the water line is now.
And so when that happens, Kim, I know this will come up, how does that word get out to those folks for, hey, it's gonna be down for 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours?
This one just went out over the internet. Lisa,
Helped out and got the word passed
we
around.
didn't run around on the houses and knock door to door. We didn't do that.
Probably real self-explanatory after the first minute.
Well, when people run out of water, there's one person usually gets all the info and passes it on, or 2 people, or 3.
That's how I understand it.
But it would be nice if you could put a runner down through those 54 houses, so you're not gonna have water for 5 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah, because, and posting or sending a message, or, it's just not gonna help, because by the time they even read it, it's already fixed probably,
Well,
whether it's a,
I thought it was a good idea that Lisa made the attempt to put that on the internet, at no cost to the town.
you mean, when you say put on Facebook, when you say put on the internet, just send it to all the locals that she knows?
Yeah,
She
put it on
has a
the-
Facebook group that's created for Stormhaven,
Okay.
she told me.
I think it's good to get the word out within reason. I think, you know, to run, if we had extra people, to send a runner to the homes would be great. To send a runner to the homes instead of getting them, getting things put back together,
Yeah.
I'd like to be notified, but I'd rather just have it fixed.
If you send me, I'll get to 3 houses before I'm out of breath.
So I mean, I think, I showed up for part of it after Gary and Kim had already got there and we're putting it back together, but, I mean, everybody figured it out pretty quick. And, I mean, you drive into the neighborhood, you see a backhoe and all the trucks sitting there, and then you come home and you don't have water. I mean,
You kind of know.
it just wasn't that hard to figure out the problem.
That's all I have there.
Okay.
So the other thing on Storm Haven was our meeting was the 11th at 10 o'clock. After we met with, and I didn't get her name, the lady that came up, and Steve Farrell. After she plugged in the numbers, it would, each person on that system, if we would have got the funding to qualify, their bill would have to be $200 plus 38. So $238 per person would qualify us to get that money. That's
Per
all.
month?
Come on.
Per month.
Each individual.
Each individual is $238. That's what the state was looking at. That would let it fund us.
That was our state deal.
I'll let them know that that's what it costs, and we're working.
I think
on
Ryan told them that.
doing this.
I think I had 212
Multiple
on my
ways.
presentation, so I was off by a little bit.
Yeah, that was it was confirmed.
Okay,
That's gonna be,
anything else, Eric?
Oh, that was just Storm Haven, sorry.
Okay.
I got one more grant.
I've got, move on to item number 10 then, approval of council meeting minutes for May 7th of 2018.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna say, I gotta change the date on the minutes. I just noticed I have April 9th, should be May 7th.
Whoever makes a motion, if they'll just make that motion with the date change, and that'll,
Make the motion to accept the minutes with the exception of the change to May, is it May 9th?
May 7th.
May 7th? Does that even make sense?
from April 9th to May
From April
7th.
9th, from April 9th to May 7th.
he says, just that sentence one more
I
time.
make the motion to accept the meeting minutes from May 7th with the exception,
Perfect. With the date change.
with the date change.
Did you think I'm
from
sleeping this way?
April 9th.
I never thought that.
Perfect. So we have a first to accept the meeting minutes as written and with the date change made.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second, do we have any discussion? Okay, there's no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I think that was 3 or 4 ayes?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Item number 11, recorder's office, warrant approval, announcements, et cetera. Mary, I'll send that down to you for the warrants.
Okay,
Somewhere.
the ULGT is Utah Local Government Trust. There was another audit that came in for work comp, resulting in $510.15 bill. Smith and Harbison, $1,510.50. Never mind. Since I think it was, I've noticed they've been discounting some of these, just so you're aware.
They did very, very good work with actually.
The GDA bills. I don't know what you want to look at.
Do you have any questions on the engineering or anything with regards to those bills?
Nope, just answered them.
Brian, is there something that, I know we used to get I used to have you get me a report that kind of had, this is back when our budgets, we were trying to work out it, is to see,
What the permit fees, what
well, where
permit
we
fees
stand
were
with
paid.
them, and, yeah, you used to make them some, a very simple report, I don't think it was too complicated.
Let me work on that again. So we have, all the information is still available, I just need to get it all in one spot.
Okay, so I have a request. Because we're breaking out the testing, like I have to go in when I enter them into Flores, I have to
Okay.
enter like them separately. So
Alright.
if you guys go through like a Storm Haven one and you're entering the testing and then have all the engineering stuff,
Okay.
Is there any way that you can give us a separate invoice for just the testing versus, or sampling, sorry, versus what the engineering, just because just to make it easier?
I can, is that separate phase and the subtotal not? I mean, I was trying to,
As long, I don't really care, my
Okay.
biggest thing is if you ever look at it, like if the invoice is okay, so sampling, like on the one for Daniel, it's 181103-5. I have to enter it as like a -5 and then a 1-1 or a -2 so that I can differentiate between the sampling and the engineering.
okay.
Is that an issue for you guys?
No, let's talk about it. If we need to do separate invoice, we can.
I just wanna make sure because like on the Storm Haven one, there wasn't anything as far as testing this last, or sampling this last time.
Yeah, it got done. I think he just put all his time to the municipal, I think he just put all his time to municipal.
And we've gotta break
Instead of
that
breaking it up
out.
like he should have.
We wanna make sure that's broke out.
No, it should be broken up. It was, I'm saying he messed up, but I mean, I think, I know he put his time into the testing phase. So I think
Us
he
field
put it
guys
for
do
the
that every now and then, we mess up.
So maybe it's easier if we actually separate those invoices
All right,
to make sure those are counted, just because if that's happened, then I don't have any way, and that could result in an issue for budgeting.
okay. Well, happy to break it out however we want. I just, usually it's a balance between having an invoice for every little thing and then having one massive invoice that you can't decipher. So if we need to break them out, we'll be happy to do that.
Well, I would think just to make sure, because if we're missing that every time, we're gonna have a huge problem from the end of the year if it's not
Yeah.
being accounted for.
Okay,
So the engineering part, like, that's all fine and dandy, but
yeah.
so
Oh,
we're
it's-
not missing it.
Could he just do AB on that same invoice?
Whether it shows up on an
The problem
invoice.
is he's saying that Storm Haven this time, like, there was nothing billed for testing.
Right.
So that I don't have anything, so if that keeps happening, we're gonna run into a huge problem because we're budgeting $1,800 for Storm Haven testing or
Right.
sampling, and all of a sudden,
Yeah,
what happened to all of our sampling?
yeah, but I don't want it to get into a situation where he's spending $60 to break it out.
No, I know,
So we can have a separate paper. Can he just put A and B testing?
but
or
that's how
something?
it's been on, that's what I'm saying, that's how it's been on the invoice. I showed you last month how it was,
Yeah.
but this time, there wasn't anything on there, and there should have been. So that's what my fear is,
So-
if we keep missing that, we're throwing our budget off for what our numbers are.
Yeah, don't you worry, Ryan's going back to tell him you put it
Oh,
on.
yeah.
So-
Well, no,
so-
I'm just, I just don't,
So it was a timesheet error with the new guy. Since Kim's left, I've had to get a new guy to do the sampling.
right,
And he just didn't do his timesheet correctly. And then when I did the invoice review, I missed it because the numbers all looked reasonable and about right, and I just missed it. So it was, you know, I missed it on the review and I missed it on the training. As long as he puts his time on the timesheet correctly, that won't be a problem moving forward. And whether we do two separate invoices or not, if he misses it on his timesheet, I have, you know, then it doesn't come out on the invoice right. So we gotta fix this. The source of the problem is doing the timesheet right. Whether we do one invoice or 10, it's gotta be right on the timesheet to give us the ability to make it right.
okay, whatever works.
Okay.
We're good.
Continue on there. Down to Public Works.
Are we going through all these then?
Just, yeah, yep.
Okay. Public Works, Eric had 57.5 hours, so $1,150. GDA roads invoice for $263.75.
Is
New
that-
town payroll.
Just quickly, is that the school road?
Yeah,
Okay.
primarily the school road, there was a couple other little issues.
Okay, Daniel Municipal Water, there's the data bill $47.75. Heber Power, $185.20. Chemtech Board for testing for $20. And you have the GDA sampling invoice is $260. Engineering at $1203.75. And you have payroll. Storm Haven was $907. Heber Power, $143.69. GDA Engineering, $13.85. And then Chemtech for testing was $40 plus payroll.
Council have any questions? Not, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the warrants as presented.
So moved.
We have a first, second.
I second it.
We have a first and a second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Going into closed session.
let's just skip that, we'll go into number 13.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
We have a first, a motion to adjourn, we have a second.
I'll second that one.
First and a second. All in
I'll
favor?
third that.
We got a third, we even got a third. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Chip, how do you feel about,
Thank you, Council.
since we've got still checks to sign
I'll call in the
and
morning.
whatever, oh, that's what I was gonna ask. Would you
Sorry.
rather
You were awake?